Hello friends, my name is Vas Solo. Welcome to Why Spirit Matters, a channel devoted to exploring spirituality. The topic of today's video is how to stay spiritually uplifted. Because when we are, life is beautiful. Now, one of the things that I was taught to do when I was in the 12-step program, whenever I felt agitated or upset, was to pray. To take those thoughts and to turn them over to God. I'll be honest, when I first heard this, I didn't think it would work. But I tried it, and it helped. Prayer gave me a sense of clarity, as well as a sense of ease and comfort. Then, as I began practicing yoga and meditating, I began to understand why it works. Prayer, as well as other spiritual practices, like meditation, have a powerful uplifting effect on the mind. And the state of our mind has everything to do with how we feel and how we experience the outside world. When the mind is depressed, angry, and dark, we suffer. But when it's open, focused, and calm, we experience happiness. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to share some tips with you on how to stay in a spiritually uplifted state.
Who is in my temple? Who is in my temple?
All spiritual traditions teach that our core essence is spirit, pure, luminous, eternal, and perfect. It's the witness, ever present and watching the world through the lens of the mind. It's like the beam coming out of a movie projector that's shining onto the reel. And the contents of that reel is the contents of our mind. It's our attitudes and beliefs, our hopes and dreams, our desires, our habits, our impulses. And the combination of that light hitting the reel is what creates the movie we call subjective reality. Another way to look at it is, our thoughts and emotions are like waves on a lake that distort the reflection on its surface. Thoughts are actually things, just a lot more subtle. They have their own unique form and vibration, which creates a corresponding wave in the mind. Agitated thoughts create violent waves. Peaceful thoughts create gentle ripples. The more calm the lake of our mind is, the more clearly it reflects our true essence. That's why the great yogic master Patanjali defined yoga as the neutralization of all of the disturbances of the mind. And that's why the most direct and effective way to reach an uplifted state of consciousness is through deep meditation. The initial goal of meditation is to take our outwardly flowing awareness and to direct it within. This is usually done by focusing on the breath and a mantra. As we do this, our mind becomes increasingly calm and quiet, and allows us to experience more uplifted states of consciousness. But once the meditation ends and we go back out into the world, our mind slowly descends back to its original state. Now, the longer we've been meditating, the easier it is for us to stay connected to that calm center within. And we also become increasingly more aware of how our environment, of how the foods we eat, and even how our own thoughts negatively or positively affect the mind. For example, I knew that yogis were vegetarians, but until I reached a certain level of self-awareness, I didn't fully understand why. But after 2 years of meditation, I became acutely aware of how different foods affected my mind. Meat, for example, has a very heavy and stagnant energy, as do eggs, onions, mushrooms, garlic, and intoxicants like drugs and alcohol. These have a very dulling effect on the mind. That's why it's best to avoid them, or at least to reduce their intake. Another important factor when it comes to food is to practice moderation, because anytime that we overeat, we become heavy and sluggish. And if we undereat, we don't get enough energy and nutrients to support our spiritual practice. It's also important to exercise regularly so that we stay in good health, because the body and mind are connected. If the body gets sick, it disturbs the mind. We feel low, we have no energy for our spiritual practice. But if we exercise regularly, it helps us to stay in good health, and on a day-to-day basis, it balances our hormones, which have a lot to do with how we feel. And finally, our environment also affects us. Where we spend our time, who we spend our time with, and what we spend that time doing. For example, it's very important to spend time with other spiritual seekers practicing group meditation. That has a really powerful uplifting effect on us, as is spending time in places of beauty like nature, places of worship, museums, art galleries. Conversely, going to the mall or spending time at the bar with worldly people pulls our consciousness down into the world of matter. I'm not saying that we should shun these things, We should just try to find a balance. We'll find that as we grow spiritually, our interests will naturally begin to change. Once we experience these more refined states of consciousness, the lesser pleasures that come to us through the senses will seem dull in comparison. The important thing is to remember our goal and to make enough of an effort daily to move towards it, keeping in mind that we're seeking progress rather than perfection. If we continue meditating daily and expanding our consciousness, how we feel will begin to change. So try some of these suggestions out and let me know in the comments how it went. I'll definitely release a part 2 to this video with more helpful suggestions, so make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. I upload one video every Friday talking about the spiritual path and what we could do to live a more meaningful life. That's it for today, guys. Thank you for watching, take care, and I'll see you next time.